Hello and welcome to lecture number 13. In this lecture we're going to talk about NSFont and how to use fonts in our application, how to save the data generated with those fonts into PDF format, and how to use drag and drop. So, as you probably guessed, the name of the class to use for fonts is NSFont, and two main functions of that class is to get the font you need and get the metrics on a font like height, boldness, etc. And those are some of the functions, some of the methods in NSFont, and they all return the NSFont object, and you can get the user font of some size and pass it a size and float, the fixed pitch font size and message font of size. Well, there are a lot of methods. You can just take a look into NSFont documentation as with any other built-in class, and we're going to use just a couple of those. Now, sometimes you have a string and you want to apply different metrics and different styles to different parts of the string. You can just have completely separate strings and apply different styles to strings themselves, but you can also apply different styles to particular regions of the string. You can do it with NS attributed string, and this is just like a string, like NS string, but different letters inside that string can have different metrics. And we use NS range to specify the range of symbols to change the style of. So in this example, we're creating a new NS mutable attributed string, and think of this just like an NS string, but you can have different attributes for different symbols. So now we're creating a new NS mutable attributed string with alloc, and then initializing it with some string, and we just pass this text. After that, we say for this object, add attribute, and then we pass the attribute we want to change. Now, in this case, we want the NSFont attribute name, and the value of that NSFont would be just use a font of size 22. And then the range for which to apply this rule is from 0 to 14. So first 14 characters will be of user font size 22. Now we're adding another attribute, and this underline style attribute, and we're taking the 1 and making first three characters underlined. And then we're changing the foreground from 0 to 8, and then making the superscript from 9 to 5. So this would be a result. Actually, the result is for those lines as well. You can take and draw a rectangle around some text. So this creates this white rectangle. You can put text in a text field like this. So it just generates a text field and puts this string inside the text field. And you can even put it on a button. So you can generate buttons on the fly and put some NS attributed strings as the title value for those objects, like a button. Okay, so both NS strings and NS attributed strings have methods that allow you to draw those objects onto NS view. And as you know, NS view is so generic, all those things like a button, like the view we created last time, our custom view, are all children of NS view. That means you can draw an NS string or NS attributed string onto almost any object on your screen. And you can use this method, draw at point, and the point is by default lower left corner, so it puts like anything in 0, 0. You can also draw it inside some rectangle, and you have to create a NS rect before and pass it here, and this is where it's going to be drawn. Now, if your string is bigger than this rectangle, then it will be just cut. So you will only see what the size of your rectangle is. Now, these two are for NS attributed string, and when you ask an NS attributed string to draw itself, it of course draws with those attributes that you created. Now, if you have just a string, you can still use attributes, but you have to pass them along as a dictionary. So you have to create a dictionary of attributes and pass it, and nothing changes after all. The result will be the same. Okay, so let's actually try to do something. This is our application from last time. I'm just going to run it to show you. So we're on the same page. This is that thing where we have our custom view generating those letters when we press them on the keyboard, and when you hit tab you go to the next text field, when you hit tab you go to the second one, and you hit tab again you go back to your custom view. So what I want to do is I want to draw those letters not on the console but also on this custom view. I want to see them like big letters here. So let's start with this. I'm going to terminate this. In my letter big letter view.h I want to create a new mutable dictionary, and I'm going to use this dictionary to hold attributes for my string because I want that string to be attributed. I want to change the style as I want. Okay, so I'm going to create NS mutable dictionary and call it attributes. I also want to create a new method that will return no value, so void, and I'm going to call it prepare attributes. I'm going to call this method when my application starts, and it will populate this mutable dictionary, create it at first and then populate, of course. So let's just try that. I'm going to go to my M file. I'm just going to close this, and somewhere in the end it's a good place to write. I'm actually going to fire up my console so that it's not at the bottom. I'm going to say void and prepare attributes, this one. So first is, of course, I want that pointer to be NS mutable dictionary. So this will just do alloc and init and create a new empty dictionary. So now I want to make two attributes for this one. So I'm going to add a new object to this dictionary using set object for key. So set object, and the object I want to put here is NSFont, user font of size, and just make it something like 80. So this is just an integer, 80 points, and the key is NSFont attribute name. So this attribute will make my string. I'm going to pass this attribute dictionary along with the string, and it will be 80 in size. So another thing I want to do is make attributes set object for key, and the object is I want this to be of some color. So NS color, and make it red color. Red color on a blue background is not a good idea, but for the sake of this example, it's fine. And the name of this is NS foreground color attribute name. I'm glad it's so smart and auto escape so that I don't have to remember this long name. Okay, so now we have this method. It's okay. When we run our application, we're gonna call this. We're gonna have a dictionary ready to go. So let's go to my init with frame. So this method, which is called when I run my application and my custom view is created. And I want to, of course, call of myself, prepare attributes. Okay. The thing is, I'm going to change how my custom view looks like, because I'm going to put that string on top. So I have to redraw my custom view. Before, we didn't do anything with the custom view. It didn't change its view. Now we have to change its view, and because we have to do it, I have to call a special thing. I have to talk to my application and say, I'm going to redraw. So you have to update how I look like. Because I have to do this, and I have to do this when the string is changed, because every time I hit a key on my keyboard, a new string will be put on top of my custom view, and I want the custom view to be redrawn so that this new string, this new actually symbol, is on the screen and the last one is gone. So a good place to do this is in my set string. So set string, and this is the method. This is where I set the string value to something I pressed on the keyboard. So I have to say self set needs display to yes. So this time, every time the string changes, the application knows that it has to redraw the custom view. Okay, so the last thing is now putting that string on my custom view. So I'm going to create a new method right here. I'm going to call it draw string centered in. And it takes that NS rectangle, so NS rect and R. Remember, NS rectangle is just simple C structure. It's not a class, so I don't create this pointer. I'm just creating a simple variable. So first, let's get the size we need. So NS size, str size. Oh, I'm sorry, str size. And I'm getting string size with attributes. And I'm going to pass that dictionary. So this, I'm getting the size of my, I know what the size of my string will be on my custom view. Now I need to get the point to start, and I'm going to just create a new NS point and call it str origin. And again, NS point is a simple C structure. I don't need a pointer. I'm going to say str origin dot x. This is one of the variables inside that structure. And I'm going to get from my rectangle I got here origin.x and add half of the size. So r size dot width minus my string size dot width and divided by 2. So I'm going to just copy and paste this and change this to y, this to y, this to height, and this to height. Okay. Last thing to do is to draw my string. As I said, I can call the draw at point method of my string, and this is why we created that point. So I'm going to say string. This is that global string we have in my custom view. Draw at point, pass it the point str origin, and the attributes is of course my attributes dictionary. Okay, so last thing to do is to go to my draw rectangle, draw rect, and this is the method. I want to put this thing somewhere here and say self and call that method draw string centered in, and of course going to use that bound NS rectangle so that it is inside my view. Okay, so I think that's it. Let me run my application and we'll see how it works. So now if I press a button, I see the font, I see the character, and I can see and get something like this. All right, it works.